introduced to Mike Golic first at an audition that guys were having on this cruise ship to do play-by-play and color analysis, and I did a couple of samples with Mike, and I thought, wow, this guy's great. And then it goes full circle, Lubie, because as I mentioned to you, I'm listening to a game on the radio. I'm picking up my wife from the airport. I think it was the first round of the playoffs. He's doing, or it might have been, it was the Detroit-Dallas game, end of the regular season on the radio, Westwood One. Yeah. And I'm thinking, this guy is great. Who is he? And sure enough, it was Mike Golic, and he joins us here on the show. Mike, good to have you on. How are you? Good to talk to you again.
Man, that is a lot of years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, that seems like a lifetime ago. Wow.
Remember that? And some guys came in. We were making like a little audition tape they walked away with. And you were great, by the way. I mean, and you were great with the people. So what we, you then went on, obviously, to, big things with first Chris Visser there in Arizona, and then, ESPN. The Mike and Mike show, which was a tremendous and extremely popular radio success. All right, I'm not good at some of these days, like Valentine's Day's coming up. I'm probably going to, lay an egg there. Christmas, New Year's. But one day I usually shine on is a Pork Rind Appreciation Day. So tell us about this. Because it's an annual thing, man. And Louie and I always look forward to, the guy dropping off, a couple of bags of pork rinds there on Radio Row. But I know you're affiliated with what they're doing, so give us the details.
Yeah, it's actually their 14th annual Pork Rind Appreciation Day, and it happens to fall right on the Super Bowl. So they figured, while they're going to help, great, which I'll mention in a second, they figured, let's give away some money and some pork rinds to people. So basically, they wanted you to decide or pick a team that's going to get more sacks instead of snacks this time around. So it's very, very simple. You just go to porkrindappreciationday.com. You pick any team you believe is to get the most sacks. Each week, a randomly selected entry is going to win a case of pork rinds for every sack the team gets. Grand prize is $5K and a year of pork rinds. So that's pretty cool. You could just go onto the website and fill out who you think is going to get the sacks, and you can win some pork rinds and some money. And they're helping out with Gridiron Greats. That's something that Coach Ditka helped start, and I'm on the board of. And basically for Gridiron Greats, it really helps players in the past who are having issues right now, whether it's just getting a ride to see a doctor or getting a physical exam, going to the dentist. The CBA is a lot better for the players who are ending their careers now, not so much for the careers decades ago. So some of those things, with these players who don't have a lot of money, need a little assistance. The way I put it is, anytime I'm on the field, if one of my teammates is on the ground, I reach my hand out to help them up, or if I'm on the ground, they help me up. And that's basically what we're doing here. We're putting our hand out and helping our fellow players and teammates and guys we played against. We're helping them up with some of the simple things in life that they might be struggling with now. We want to help them with. So we really appreciate Southern Best Recipe in getting involved in this with the Pork Rind Appreciation Day. Again, the 14th annual for that on the Super Bowl. So pork rinds have a chance to win a bunch of that, win a bunch of money, and help some guys who need some help.
Very noble endeavor. I had the pleasure of working with the NFL Alumni Organization many years ago when they were kind of campaigning to develop and generate funds for the pre-59ers who got hosed out of the NFL pension fund. And I believe they've made some amends there. I don't know if they've fixed the thing to the level that most people would have liked to have seen. But you would see, some of these tragic stories like a Jim Otto or, some of these other guys that, played even post-59 that, had been debilitated so badly by the game. And these other guys were shut out, had no income, no way to generate any. And, it was really good to see what the current players were doing and people that are NFL fans were doing to help out these guys that obviously were in need. All right. You would have thought this, Mike Golic, and I don't know what your analysis was prior to this ball game, but Buffalo had everything going for it. I mean, Damar Hamlin was going to sing the national anthem. It was snowing. The entire city looked like a place that nobody, unless you wanted to go to purgatory, was ever going to want to live. They had momentum. They had survived this, really ugly, sloppy game against the Dolphins the previous week. And into town comes strolling the Cincinnati Bengals, who were life and death. It took a fluke play for them to ultimately prevail over the Baltimore Ravens, who were without their star quarterback, Lamar Jackson, in the game. And you're thinking everything is swinging Buffalo's way. They're favored in the ball game, and they get annihilated. So, were you as bamboozled by the Buffalo Bills' performance as a lot of people were in the Cincinnati victory that sent them into the title game this week?
I'm not surprised Cincinnati won. The way they dominated the game was certainly surprised. Dominated the line of scrimmage, especially they had 3 backup offensive linemen to the Bengals in that game. But they had a great game plan. You know, it was short passes in the bad weather. You got to remember the wide receivers know the routes, defenders don't. So in bad weather, that could certainly give you that extra yard or so of separation from a defender. And then you have these great players for Cincinnati who were able to get yards after the catch. And probably the biggest surprise to me in this game is the fact that Cincinnati does not have a great running game this year. But all of a sudden, Joe Mixon gets a career high, 123 scrimmage yards in this game. That surprised me. But we had seen Buffalo at times this year get run on. But I did think Cincinnati was going to do that. So that helps you control the clock. It helps you with play action pass. I think that was one of the things that kind of raised my eyebrows. That was one of the big differences of the way Joe Mixon ran, the way that O-line blocked with 3, backups on.
Well, if anybody's familiar with the idea of makeshift and or patchwork offensive lines, I'm not sure which one the Dolphins have been over the years. It would be fans here in South Florida, but and we've dragged in. I mean, not just NFL bag ladies, but talking about guys from gas stations. Chris Greer was out at a Marathon gas station and pulled 2 starters in a couple of years ago for Brian Flores as they were trying to tank for Tua. But 3 guys down on the offensive line, which wasn't all that great to begin with, Mike Golic, for the Cincinnati Bengals. And those guys go out there like they had John Riggins in the backfield, and they were just, going to mow through people like they were the hogs. How does that happen? I mean, because we know offensive linemen are at an absolute premium. I mean, as I said, if anybody knows it, it's we here in South Florida.
Listen, I mean, that's guys stepping up. We always talk about next man up. When do you get your opportunity? And, great stories. The guy, Alex Kappa's on the right guard, and Max Sharping comes in. So this goes down all the way to really kind of behind the curtains and the intricacy of scouting. Max Sharping was a higher draft pick for the Texans years ago and played for the Texans, but this year was the thought that he was going to get cut. So what you have is you have scouts at the end of preseason. Their job is to kind of pinpoint the players on each team that they believe are going to be cut that are of highest value. It can be a starter, possibly a starter, would be a backup, or maybe a special teamer. And kudos to Cincinnati. They recognize Sharping as a guy who could come in and be a starter for what he had done in Houston. So they were happy to have him, and they didn't need him to play a lot. But now when they need him and they count on him, he comes through. So it's kind of a process sometimes to get the right guys there, or who you feel can help you. And that's what's expected out of everything. Listen, I played 9 years, and I probably started half of my career. The other half I would come in on a rotation. But you have to practice every week and prepare every week like you're the starter. And that's what these guys do. So when your name is called upon, and you're a backup for a reason, you're either not as physically gifted or for whatever reason as the guy in front of you, but you get your chance and you get the job done. We've seen it time and time again. But to have 3 on an offensive line do it, as you said, you're right, for an old line that has struggled to protect Joe Burrow was pretty impressive.
Mike, Josh Allen, look, he's a great quarterback. He's gotten to that class where you're not questioning him anymore. He's top 3, top 4. I don't know where you rank him. But it's funny, in this era, the gunslinger's usually not heralded. Like when you played into the 90s, Brett Favre will go down as one of the greats, even though he's one of the career leaders in interceptions. Josh Allen's in year 5, and it feels like he's still making very similar mistakes in these big moments that he did in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. And he's still heralded. How long does that last where a guy's heralded that still turns the ball over this much in those big moments?
Well, I mean, listen, the bottom line for quarterbacks is how far can you take the team, right? Yeah, I mean, if you want to be considered one of the greats, that's what you have to do. Everybody keeps saying Aaron Rodgers is going to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but people are saying, well, if he wants to move up a notch in the greatest quarterback of all time, he needs to win another Super Bowl. They always put the quarterback with the Super Bowl, not a wide receiver or a running back, it's a quarterback, which I don't understand at times. But for Josh Allen, listen, I mean, that's what he's going to be judged on, how far he can take a team. You look at Burrow. Burrow is in the playoffs has beaten Allen and Mahomes.
Yep.
Burrow's been unbelievable. So it's a lot of times baseball players, we judge them on the postseason. Mr. October,
Yep.
with Reggie Jackson, we judge how well you do in the postseason. So a lot of times for these quarterbacks on these good teams, it's like, okay, have a good regular season, but the expectation is to be in the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. So what are you doing for me now? Josh had the issues with the red zone interceptions, which kill you every time. It's just like with Dak Prescott. I called the game last week in San Francisco. Dak came in, in the wild card game against Tampa, didn't throw an interception, but 7 games before that, in a row he did, and he threw 2 in that one. So that bites you. When football started to the day football ends, turnovers are going to be the ruination of your game. That's just what happens. And is there a way around it? Listen, you have to develop more. You have to read right. Are you getting fooled? First you have to identify. Are you just making a bad throw? Are you reading the defense correctly? Is the defense fooling you by making you think they're going to guard one area, and then they break and on your pass and intercept it? That's happened a few times as well. So you have to first determine the reason, and that's what the off season is for. Is you look at those interceptions and you say, why did that happen? How did that happen? And then is that something that I can fix?
Isn't this being played all wrong by Kansas City? I envisioned, as we saw the first shots of Patrick Mahomes pulling up for what would be a walkthrough, them wheeling him in a wheelchair into the stadium, having him all bandaged up like the English patient, barely able to move. And even if he made it through the practice, I would have kept everybody out of there, Belichick style, and made sure that nobody saw this guy had any mobility whatsoever. Would you not be downplaying the fact that this guy is at 100% health? When he looks like he's getting ready to take over and kick field goals as well, from what we saw in the clips yesterday.
So with injuries, whenever you hear high ankle sprain,
yeah, that's a couple of weeks at least.
Injury. Well, that's the thing. Everybody associates when you hear an injury of how long you're out.
Yeah.
But what people need to understand is sprains, like high ankle sprain, low ankle sprain, AC joint, the shoulder, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. You have to look at the severity of it. There's grade 1s, grade 2s, grade 3s. All sprains are little tears. It's just a matter of how much.
Okay.
And for Pat Mahomes to go back in the game, that I pretty much tell I'm not a doctor, but I've had a lot of injuries to know that it was a mild high ankle sprain.
Okay.
Because if it was a severe one, there's no way he'd be back on the field, and there'd be no way he'd be in the game next week. He'd be done. So it was a mild one that can be taken care of by trying to make sure you keep the swelling out of it and get some movement in it. So that's why he's walking around like normal. I saw him jogging a little bit. He's going to play. He's not going to be the normal mobile Patrick Mahomes that we see. It's going to be some limitation, but it was probably more of a grade 1 high ankle sprain that he's going to be able to play on.
All right, quick thought, and we appreciate your time here. And, of course, we'll remind people about Pork Rind Appreciation Day.com and the great cause that's being, represented by Mike Golic here on the program After Hours with Defo and Lubie. Quick thought on the other game. I thought, Philadelphia overwhelmingly impressed me. I know you have ties to the Eagles, having played in the Eagles organization. San Francisco been, very solid. The Brock Purdy story is certainly a good one. Mr. Irrelevant, a possible Super Bowl starting quarterback. But I don't know. I thought Philly was impressive enough to convince me that they would move on to the Super Bowl. What did you think there, Mike?
Well, these are the 2 most complete teams left of the last 4. They're the 2 most complete, without a doubt. The AFC has the quarterback stars. The NFC has the more complete team. Mm-hmm. Though Jalen Hurts, has been playing extremely well. So I look at this as, can the Philadelphia Eagle defense finally make Brock Purdy feel like a rookie? Dallas did it for a half. I called that game last week. Dallas did it for a half. They played him extremely well. And Philadelphia had 70 sacks in the regular season. 4 players have over 10 sacks. Yep. So they have multiple guys that can get pressure on you and try and take San Francisco's offense out of rhythm, because that's what's going to make Brock Purdy play more like a rookie, is get him off schedule and get them out of their rhythm. They love the rhythm because they have the 5 studs in Ayuk and Kittle and Deebo Samuel and Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey. When those 5 are on the field together, they're 6-0, and they're going to be all on the field together. So it's a plethora of talent for Purdy. And we know their defense. These are 2 of the top defenses in the NFL. With the difference is Nick Bosa has 18.5 sacks. The next closest is 5. So where Philadelphia has more guys, I think, that could put pressure on the quarterback. I think that could be the difference in the game.
Excellent. All right. PorkRindAppreciationDay.com. That's where people can get involved in the contest and win cash and pork rinds and all kinds of great stuff, and also contribute to a very, very worthwhile cause there, helping out NFL veterans who need this kind of assistance, aren't getting in on the magnificent amount of cash that's being spread around the league right now. Mike, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for being with us. Come a long way from that cruise ship and the audition tapes we were making for the people that were on the broadcasting crews, and it's great to see your success. And are you doing one of the games over the weekend for Westwood One? Because you really did a
No,
great job on
no,
that Dallas game.
yeah, I'm not going to do one of these games, but I'll be working the Super Bowl. So,
beautiful.
I'll get to watch
Nice.
games and then I get after Super Bowl. Yeah.
All right, thanks so much. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, Mike.
You got it, guys. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Mike Golic. All right, good stuff with Mike Golic there.
It was great.
It's good we got the pork rind thing out of the way early there, because that was a lengthy explanation, but worthwhile. I mean, we see those guys every year, right? They've been doing it for like 14 years. That's about the amount of time. I guess they started a couple of years before we got going on our Radio Row ventures, but that has had its overall expansion. This whole concept. I like guys that stick with it when they're doing charitable stuff and are being represented on Radio Row. Where who was it? The center for the Jets, Nick.
Oh Jesus, I can't.
His name escapes me now. Yeah,
no shit.
And he would come around with that blowtorch thing that was like the
I know. Oh my god.
Yeah, and his sister is a weightlifter, an Olympic weightlifter. How do we not? Mangold, Nick Mangold.
Dang it!
Yeah.
You beat me, Nick Mangold.
Man, I didn't want to go off the air without remembering that name and having to look it up. Yeah, I had to Google Craig Sager the other day. I couldn't remember Craig Sager, the guy with the suits who passed away after a noble battle with cancer while he was working right till the final moments there. Always just remember him from getting shined on by Greg Popovich during those interviews. All right, Lubie, a lot of fun, and that's going to wrap up another edition of After Hours. Defo and Lubie here on Believe. Thanks so much for joining us, and catch us on South Florida Live. And until we meet again next time.